Welcome to the Intelligent Investing Podcast, where modern portfolio theory can suck it. A student of the School of Graham and Doddsville and a clergy member of the Church of Warren Buffett. Here's your host, Eric Schleien.
Hi, this is Eric Schleien. You are listening to the Intelligent Investing Podcast. We have Brian Langis back on the show. Welcome, Brian.
Hi, thank you for having me back on.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I should just get you a co-host with me at some point, or at least we should just do shows more often.
Yeah,
you're
sure.
You're a lot of fun to have come on. Not saying there haven't been other people that are fun to come on, but I think we have a good time together. So,
I love doing it. I got great feedback. People love listening to it, and we have a good time. It's great.
Yeah. So, and by the way, congratulations on, getting all that notoriety on Seeking Alpha for some of these last few articles that you've done through the show. So I think that was pretty cool.
Yes. Well, the podcast, the blog, the post, everything. I think that was my most successful article published in terms of views. Mm-hmm. I think so. I mean, when we did the podcast and the article, it was at the peak of the marijuana industry. It was right before it became legal in Canada, and I think after it was published, like 1 or 2 days, it became legal. The stock started tanking. All the weed stock, actually, all the stocks have been tanking for a while now, but the marijuana stocks. Like canopy growth went from 70 something to 40. A lot of people started selling, and it's probably, we should take credit for that.
I'm going to take no credit for tanking canopy growth.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to be doing an episode on Cuba today.
Yeah.
And you just came back from Cuba, Brian?
Yeah, it was my second time, and this trip was a little different. It was a trip with the family and then some friends. We all had small kids, so it wasn't when I used to travel. I traveled a lot in the past, and we can talk about that in the next episode. I went to some crazy countries like Cambodia and Vietnam, but this one was Cuba, and it's a very interesting place in the world. And there's a rich history there with the United States, two countries that took totally different paths. And it's been, Cuba's at an interesting point right now because they have a new president. As you know, they had Fidel Castro for 50-something years, and then his brother took over, Raúl. And Raúl retired back in February 2018, and they have this new guy, Manuel Diaz-Canel. He's the new president of Cuba since February, and that should be interesting to see what happens next, since you don't have the Castro mystique candidate to keep the people together. Nobody knows who that guy is, so we'll see what happens. He has a massive job ahead of him. Cuba has to do a lot of reforms. It's not a rich place. They have a lot of issues, and I think in the past it was the whole Castro glue. People were fixated with him because he had a lot of charisma and he could sell you anything. So people just kind of believed in him. But now this new guy comes in and he has to prove himself, and he has to make people's life. He has to improve people's life. So, he has a plate full ahead of him. I wouldn't say that the Castros are out of it, because the guy, I don't know if you know how Cuba works, but they have the Cuban Communist Party, so it's a one-party state, and it's like China. They have the Politburo and they have others. So Raúl is still the top communist guy. He's the head of the Communist Party still, but he's not in charge of the day-to-day operations or affair of the country. So that guy in charge right now, Manuel Diaz, he's like third or fourth most important communist member. So there's still some senior members ahead of him. So let's see how much reforms he can do. And also, he can't be there forever. Like Fidel, they changed the constitution a couple of weeks ago, or last year or this year, I don't remember, to make sure that I think he can only serve like 2 terms or something like that, and then they have to change. So, but yeah, who knows what will happen. Now, I used to live in the States for a while, and I know Cuba was always a fascination. And there's a rich history there. Well, rich, not in a good sense. Mostly, crisis. You had the Big of Bigs, which was President Kennedy tried to invade the island, and then you had the missile crisis, which was the part where there was nuclear missiles with the Soviet Union pointing at the United States, and then you have a couple things here and there. The kid in the late 90s, 1999. We were much younger back then, but it was all over the news. Alien, do you remember that guy?
I do very well, actually.
Yeah, it became a big story, and I think it cost Al Gore the presidency. I don't know if you remember that, but Al Gore lost the election by like 500 something votes. He lost Florida.
I think Ralph Nader probably cost him the presidency.
Yeah, well, Ralph Nader too, right? But Florida, Al Gore lost Florida by 500 votes, and he lost the Cuban vote, the Cuban bloc, because the Cuban people in Miami, it's a very big bloc of voters, and they vote in bloc. And they're always more Republican than Democrats, because Bush and Reagan, they had them in their pocket. And the whole alien kid situation, when Bill Clinton had to send him back to Cuba, enraged the Cuban community, and they made sure that Al Gore paid for it, because it was 1999-2000 when the whole story happened. Anyway, not to get carried away here. I just got back from a little vacation in Cuba. We had a great time. It's a beautiful place, a beautiful island. But you can tell that this country's been, for 50 years have been under government control to some various degree. Mm-hmm. And I think the point, I posted something on my blog. I think the point I want to make is, look, we have a country where we have a sample. Here's what happened for 50 years, right? So Fidel took over, and they had this massive social experiment. And so they nationalized industries, the whole communist thing. And now we have another country you can study to see if it works. And that country is a survivor. I wouldn't call it a success story. It's not a success story. But it's interesting, because I find in today's, what's the right word I'm looking for? The political climate we're in right now is not very healthy, but you also have a rise of I would call it like socialism. People that want to experiment with that, they want the government to have a greater role in people's life, and free that, to a certain degree, depending on how you look at it. And at the same time, we went down that path in the past for 100 years. If you start with the Russian Revolution in 1917, you had 100 years of various countries that experimented with it, starting with the Union, trickled down to different countries, to now Cuba and Venezuela. And none of them were a success story. You don't have a country in 100 years that said, you know what, that went well, that worked very well, we should try it. It did not. All you did is making The motive is good. The motive was, let's improve people's life. People are suffering, people are poor, you want to improve the quality of life. So it's noble, you think you're doing the right thing, but at the end you're not. You're actually not improving the quality of life, you're making it worse, you're suppressing people. And when I was there, like people have a fascination with Cuba. They're like, oh look, they have free okay, let's do this. Let's see what's good about the place. And here's two things that I have taken away from Cuba that I think we should test more or learn from. So they have, if you know how Cuba works, but so everything is paid for. In a sense, everything is free. Of course,
I want to ask you something first.
Yeah.
Before we get into all this, do you see investment opportunity in Cuba right now?
Yes and no. Yes, of course. There's a lot of opportunities. They recently introduced a new.
Explain to me, because I've never been to Cuba. I find this interesting. So explain to me where you see, where there could be potential opportunities for actual intelligent investment, and then at the same time, how that plays into reforms that might be coming up or lack of reforms if it doesn't happen.
So I was joking with my friends. We went down there with
because don't a lot of these countries that are kind of poor, to say the least, they'll have kind of interesting ways of trying to attract capital.
Right. First, yes, Cuba is poor, but not poor in the traditional sense of, not poor like Haiti, not poor like Cambodia.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't really sure what the word would be. I mean, because it's not England or the United States or Canada, but you're right, it's not Haiti.
Yeah, it's not Haiti. No, that's poor. I'm sorry, Haiti, but there's a lot of issues there. It's the Cuban have a strong, solid safety net. The people are highly educated. All the Cubans are educated. All the Cubans are professionals. They don't do their professions every day, but they're all lawyers, they're all doctors, they're all pharmacists, they're all dentists, they're all engineers. They all know how to read. I think it's almost 100% literacy rate. And they have homes. So in a sense, they don't have some of the problems that is plaguing our society today. They don't have the drug problem we have. They don't have the crime. They don't have the homeless people. They don't have people dropping out of school. They're not dealing with depression. So when I put it that way, I make it sound good. And I am making it sound good. It's something that maybe we can learn from. But at the same time, nobody wants to trade places. There's no Americans or Canadians or anybody in the world who wants to be, I want to go to Cuba and live there. No, the Cubans are actually leaving Cuba because they want a better life. They actually want what we have, right? They want more freedom. They want more liberty. They want to be able to make money. They want something better for their family. So that's really what's going on. But that strong safety net is it's helping them, but it's not. That's it. It doesn't get better. Yeah, you get a little bit of food, you got a nice little home, but it's not. Actually, I wouldn't say nice. It's not nice, but you got a roof. So and now to go back to the second part of your question, or actually the first part was the foreign investment opportunity. Since we're on an investing podcast. So yes, there are a lot of opportunities, and I think, but you really need to. Can
you give me some specifics of things that you
would
say?
That's it. I was joking with my friends who went down there with, and you're driving down, you see all the buildings, and I'm like, I was joking. I'm like, do you know how I could get really, really rich here? And he's like, what? I'm like, I should be selling paint because they really need paint. And then we're driving around and you see all these buildings crumbling, the roads and all the reparations and infrastructure and the road and the bridges, and everything needs to be repaired. Everything needs to be a key. You need some massive investments. And I was joking, you know what? I know how I'm going to get rich here. I should open a Home Depot. Open a Home Depot and I think you'll have the best business in the world. I'm going to sell paint. I'm going to sell ladders. I'm going to sell nails. I'm going to sell hammers. And I think just that you'll do very, very well. So that was the joke. All these buildings are falling apart. And so that was one, if somebody wants to hustle down there, that'd be something to do. But that's the issue, right? You need to import the stuff. And it's so complicated to import anything in Cuba. It's a mess. But they're doing reform. So they have a new Foreign Investment Act in place because they're desperate. They need money. And they want to attract foreign investment. So that doesn't mean that it's attracting money. They haven't attracted a lot of money. There's companies who are investing, but it's not all the money they hope for. Because you know how it is. Investing is opportunity cost. I am a foreign company or I'm a foreign investor. I'm going to invest where I have the best opportunities, where so Cuba is one option, but if I can invest, let's say, in the Dominican, to Jamaica, or another Caribbean country, or wherever in the world that's offering me better conditions, I know the less bureaucracy, I know the government, is not going to change the contract in 1 or 2 or 3 years. I have rule of law, my money, less capital control, so money can go in, money can leave the country, more liberty. These are all things that I will take into consideration. But there are companies that are investing in Cuba. You have a lot of resorts. So if somebody's actually interested in investing in Cuba, the big resort companies, they're publicly traded, like Melia.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Melia. Melia is one of them. Melia, actually, let me just type it in here. Melia Resort, Melia something. Melia. It's from Spain. Melia.
They're publicly traded?
Yeah, it's a Spanish company. Melia Hotels International. So they have a bunch of resort. Stock price, I think it's MEL. I don't know if it's a Spanish symbol or the ADR. I know the company, but I'm not familiar with its specifics. But Melia is a big one. It's in Spain. And it's not a pure bet on Cuba. They have resorts all over Central America, like Mexico, Jamaica, whatever. Every island, there's a Melia resort. There's also in Canada, we have Sherritt International. They're in Cuba. Now, I just want to make it clear, this is not an investment recommendation. Actually, not even recommending to invest in that company, but the name of it is Sherritt International. I've been following it for a couple of years. Their symbol's S on the TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange. Sherritt International, and
Sheraton or Sherritt?
Sherritt.
Okay.
Sherritt. Yeah. Okay. It's just the stock symbol is just S, and they do a little bit of everything in Cuba. They do a little bit of mining. Oil, gas, electricity. They're involved in the little bit of everything there. But big European companies like Total, they are investing in Cuba.
What about though? Just want to bring it back to individuals investing in Cuba. Are there? You said you would open up a Home Depot kind of store. Is that even doable though, with the way that the laws are and whatever restrictions are there right now?
I don't know. I don't know as a foreign investor. I think everybody's a little bit on the sideline. I don't know if a foreign guy, especially let's say American, can go to Cuba and open a business. I will say I doubt it. Mm-hmm. Or if it's possible, obviously the government, see the way a lot of these businesses are, let's say like the big resort for tourism and all these things, the government owns them and they're leasing it back. So they put their money and they have a management contract. Now, I don't know if the new Foreign Investment Act allows this, but a lot of the what's going on is that a lot of the Cubans are now turning to self-employment. So it's allowed now. And there's about 200 trades that you can take up, you can do. You can be a mechanic, you can do this, you're a real estate agent, whatever. You can decide to trade a restaurant, a coffee shop. And I think this happened a week or two ago. They actually modified it because when the changes came into effect a couple of years ago, for example, I was allowed to have a restaurant, but not me, but a Cuban person.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't have more than 50 people in it. Or I will have a bookshop and a coffee place together. That was illegal because that was two different trades. You were only allowed to have one trade. But now you're allowed to have more than one trade. So that coffee shop with a bookstore in it is now legal as of 2 weeks ago. Before it was illegal. You were not allowed to do that. And there's about 600,000 self-employed Cubans, which is good. And all these people used to be on the government payroll. Now they're not. It's about a couple percent off the amount of employees. And you're turning these people into taxpayers. So you're creating a tiny base of people that are paying taxes, and they're off the government book. And you can tell that these people, they all want a better life. For example, when I was at my hotel, the resort, all my barista, the waiters, all these people, they're all doctors, man. They're all doctors, they're all professionals, but they're hustling. They all want the tourist job. They all want to work at a resort. Just to give you an idea of the money they can make. So, this is very complex and complicated. But Cuba has two different currencies.
Okay.
They have, I'm not going to go in details because it's complex, but they have two different currencies. One of them is what the tourists, like myself, use. It's called the Cuban convertible peso. And it's pegged to the US dollar 1:1. Okay? So when I go there, I exchange my money and I get that peso that I can use. And it's pegged to US dollar 1:1. Now we can all agree that it's currently overvalued, and we can also agree that it's pretty much monopoly money. Because if I bring back these pesos back home, and I go to my bank with that, I'll be like, I don't know what that is. So that money is pretty much monopoly money. It's nothing. Now the Cubans, the everyday Cubans use a different system. They have the Cuban pesos, and the exchange rate's about 4-1 to the convertible pesos. Now again, I'm not this, and it's complicated, and they have different exchange rate for different industries. It's a mess. So to answer your question, when I go over there and open a Home Depot, you have to understand what's going on, the law, the different exchange rate. They're talking about reforming and having one. Mm-hmm. And this is interesting because the new guy, he's in charge now, and he's in charge of having maybe one currency system for everybody, 1 pesos. So here's the issue with that, Eric, is that you have these state-owned enterprises, right, which is like 90% of the economy. They all have this giant balance sheet of these Cuban pesos that are pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar. So if they actually reform that money, you can't, it's currently overvalued. So you're going to have this massive devaluation. And so who knows what happens? It's not going to be good. These companies, they are going to go bust when they find out that their money is not worth what it's supposed to worth. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens when the reforms are in place.
Long term, though, wouldn't you think it might be some short term pain, but long term would be better if you're not keeping the currency overvalued?
Yes. Well, that's where they're debating, right? Reforms are required. So how are we going to do? Are we going to do it fast and have some short term pain, Or are we going to take our time and gradually open the economy, gradually liberate the economy, and, with stretching the current pain over time? That's the debate, and who's going to pay the cost. Yeah. So if you do, the Cuban, when they had the revolution, they made a promise. It's not a promise, but a covenant with the people. Support us, support the revolution, support the government, and we'll provide you with housing, security, and food, education, healthcare. That was the covenant. They have to keep respecting that, or the people will just, overthrow the government. It doesn't take much. I can't believe that country still survived. They managed to survive because the Soviet Union collapsed. When the Soviet Union collapsed, it was 99% of Cuban exports. Cuba went through a severe recession, and naturally you expect, all these countries, all these communist countries, all these socialist countries are forming. Cuba's next. It's just going to be the domino, the next domino to fall. They did not. And then Venezuela came along, and Cuba became independent of Venezuela. So every time Cuba needed oil, let's say I need a million barrel of oil, Cuba will send like 25,000 doctors, and Venezuela would send the oil. Now Venezuela is just a basket case. I don't even know if you can call it a country anymore. And they don't support Cuba anymore because they can't. So they got their back against the wall, and I think, long term, there are going to be opportunities, but I think you're going to have to be on the ground. If you want to make this work, you have to be around.
Did you ever look at the website Cuba Culture, cuba-culture.com?
No. Cuba Culture?
Yeah,
no.
Cuba-culture. I was looking up a few of these things before the show. There's a few websites that are like specifically targeted to investing in Cuba, with people who kind of know the lay of the land.
Yeah.
It just looks so complicated, right? It's like they're. But the thing, I guess, right? If you want to do the work, there may be opportunities. I think that's with a lot of these countries, right? It's like if you have the right connections and know how to navigate the minefield, if you will, there's opportunity.
No, for sure, and there's so much bureaucracy. So
it's insane. It's really insane the amount of bureaucracy that I'm just from reading all this. It's like it's actually overwhelming to learn about this.
Cuba's not there yet. Like in terms of investing, it's not there yet. Now, if you want to be like a wheeler dealer on the ground and you love that stuff and bureaucracy and knowing the people, look, there's opportunities everywhere.
Listen to this, right? This is one example. Let's say you want to buy real estate and buy property in Cuba. This is what it says on the website. Mm-hmm. The reality is there are 3 main ways which you can buy property or real estate in Cuba as a non-Cuban. These 3 ways are as follows. Number 1, marry a Cuban. This might be a little extreme, but it is one of the ways in which you would be eligible to purchase a home in Cuba from another local property owner. By being married, you can then apply for permanent residence, and this authorization would enable you to buy as a local. Number 2, you can purchase a property from another foreigner. If you have no desire or intention to marry a Cuban and have no other direct ties with his country, there is the opportunity to buy from another foreigner. There was a period of time in the last 20 years when a number of newly built holiday properties were built and sold to foreigners. These foreigners were own properties, and they can be sold to another foreigner. This is one of the easiest ways for you to buy property in Cuba if you are not Cuban. And then number 3.
Easiest way?
Yeah, right. Okay. That's one of the easiest. 3, through others. Not necessarily a way that I would recommend, but if you want to ensure that you have full control over your own property, but you can do what some people do is buy property in the name of your children, family, and sometimes even friends. Okay, I'm not even going to advocate for that at all on the show, but if they're Cuban nationals, do be aware that this can turn into a nightmare. such as when family members begin to disagree on certain things connected to the property. That sounds like a really fucking horrible idea. There's other things too. There's the Mariel Economic Development Zone project.
Right, that's new.
Yeah,
it's new, right?
Yeah, and then there's also a guide to importing, exporting in Cuba. There's drug and biotechnical industry investment opportunities. You can buy Cuban domain names. .cu. That's interesting. That to me is enticing because there's not much capital involved, and if there's economic reforms open up or more businesses are going to want websites, you could do that. That to me could be interesting.
Look up this company, CUV Ventures. CUV Ventures. It's a Canadian stock exchange company, and the financials are terrible. I'm not saying buy it, but look it up. It's CUV Ventures. It's on the Venture in Canada.
Yeah.
They do websites, blockchain, fintech, market cap 20 million. Let me look it up here. I mean, it's something I ran into a while ago, but it's just so listeners know, it's not an investment
recommendation. How do you find this stuff? You find some of the weirdest stuff, man.
Yeah, it's kind of my thing. CUV Ventures Corp. That's it. It's on a TSX Venture. It's a penny stock, 16 cents, and it's worth 20. Yeah, market cap 20 million. Okay. But it's their crypto, coin, online travel marketing, websites, blockchain, a mess of things. And when I look, I think I was looking at it when the other day when I was doing some research. But yeah, it's a real company, it's a real business, but it's not profitable. They're losing a lot of money. It's a mess.
Well, they own the single. Is this why you said it? They have the single largest portfolio of Cuban-focused websites.
They do? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, you brought up websites, and I knew they're in this, but I didn't know they were the big one.
Yeah, they generate over 35 million page views annually, direct traffic to booking sites, websites, cover plus 80 Cuban travel destinations, hotels, resorts, car rentals, culture, music, sports, food, and more. 100%. They have over 100% annual revenue growth.
Right.
Founded in 2011 by Steve Marshall with 20 years of experience in Cuba. A sector ripe for significant growth as Cuba opens up. Okay, general U.S. tourist ban still in place, but travel up 50% in the last year for U.S. travelers, fitting into one of the 12 permitted categories. Their fact sheet is actually kind of interesting, just in terms of learning about a business involved in Cuba. You know what? Maybe I can get Steve Marshall to come on the show. He's the CEO of Cuba Ventures. I think that could be interesting.
Yeah. And you got the blockchain, you got the fintech.
I'm more interested in just in the fintech stuff in general. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Let's see if we can get Steve Marshall to come on the show. You'll co-host that show with me.
Cool. I have to look it up. I have to learn more about the company. Hey, one more thing. Do you know why doctors want to drive cabs in Cuba?
Yeah, it makes more money.
Makes a lot more money. Yeah. So
my dad's a physician. He's brought this up to me before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah. So just to give you a number for the audience, the state wage per month is about $25 US. So maybe 25 pesos if you big it 1-to-1. Now if they start hustling for cash, a bad day is about about $5 in tip. And a good day, they'll get maybe $15 in tip. So they make in tip per day $5 to $15, just one day.
Right.
For us, it's not much, but for them, when you make $25 a day, when you make $25 a month, and now you start making, let's say, $10 a day, now you got real money. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you why Cuba's going to get better over the years, because you got 600,000 people now who are self-employed, so they're working for themselves. And they're going to be responsible for their own success. Also, the Foreign Investment Act, so they're going to bring more money in. Also, you got the new special economic zone. So they're going to get a taste, right? They're going to get a bit of sugar. They're going to get that sugar rush. they're gonna taste. They're gonna be like, the money's coming in, the lights are improving, we got more money, and it's gonna be hard to turn that back down. Like you saw what China did, you saw what Vietnam did. So they're all models to copy. Not saying it's the model for the rest of the world, but for Cuba, it might be an idea. And also what could really help Cuba and opportunities for investors is to make Cuba a friend, an ally. That will help a lot. Maybe do something about the embargo because that is hurting them so much. And that's my opinion. I mean, obviously, at the time when it was implemented, it made sense. There was some serious issues. But today, you still need that? You're causing more harm than you're helping. But anyway, there's a lot of things that has to be done. And, in times of crisis, there's always opportunities. And obviously, it's good to keep an eye on, the island you guys have. So it'd be fun if it's back in the American fold instead of a China and a Russia. They love that. Yeah, I don't know if you have questions for me or anything in about Cuba in general.
Not really. No, I just thought it's an interesting overview and wanted to hear your view on it.
It's a topic that to keep an eye on. It's on the watch list.
Yeah. You think it's a positive though overall that the Castros are not running the show at least directly anymore?
Oh, for sure, sure. Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. The new guy, they know they got their back against the wall. Nobody is bailing him out this time. Soviet Union's gone. Yeah. Venezuela is about to be gone. So who's going to bail them out? They're not even they're not member of the World Bank. They're not member of the IMF. That's why it's going to make these currency reforms really, really hard. If they were members, well, they could, get some assistance. But they're not members. Who's going to loan money to Cuba? It's just, they know they have to do something. And they're responsible for it. It's not the big, bad, evil United States. It's not anybody else. No, they have to. They're facing some serious problems, and they know the solution. It's going to be hard. It's going to be easy. But, it's going to be interesting to see the new generation of Cubans who weren't born when the revolution happened. They have no idea. The Fidel passed away. They don't really, they're brainwashed over there for sure. A lot of propaganda. All the gift shops are all propaganda. Che Guevara, Fidel, the Revolution, all stuff. But eventually they'll catch on. Look what happened in France with the les gilets jaunes, the yellow vest, and that's France. I'm like, okay, these guys are burning everything in sight. They're trashing the country because the French people have it bad. If these people are going to a square and hating the government in France, I honestly look. If Cuba will have, I don't see why they can't take the street and express themselves. But it is what it is. It's funny, So what makes a country tick or not? What makes it tick? I mean, there's no lacking a reason in Cuba to put on your little jacket and go burn a car or something. But yeah.
Interesting. I'm looking up Cuban domain names at the moment.
Any nice websites?
So, on eurodns.com, they go for £920 a year for it's expensive. So, I don't know why.
So the money in there is having the right to that name, or they actually have a website with ads on it or something?
No, it's having a right to the name, like to own the domain.
So you just own the name.
So it looks like, from my very limited research, the annual fee is £920 with a £920 annual renewal fee, right? So annual renewal fee, £920. There's a £100 update fee, £100 transfer fee, It's expensive for... Huh. Interesting.
I just looked up FidelCastro.com. It's taken.
.com or .cu?
.com.
Oh.
FidelCastro.com. You see .cu.
It's taken. FidelCastro.cu is taken. But
Yeah.
Eric.cu is available. Let's see if Brian.cu is available. Brian.cu is available too. I bet you maybe that would be worth something.
920 euros a year? What?
You know what? You know how much Brian.com would probably be worth? Just saying.
Taken.
Actually, I know a guy who has like a history of like doing amazing shit with investing in domains. He could be another guy to have on the show too.
He's like a squatter?
But a very successful one.
Yeah.
Like he's made millions.
Yeah. That's an insider game. Like you do this all the time, every day. You know when the domains expire. You flip them. Yeah, but I had talked to him years ago, and he was telling me the way he thought about things. It was very interesting. It's totally out of my wheelhouse, but yeah, it's you have to be. It's not something passive, right? It's a full-time. You buy, sell, flip, keep track of things, beat people to it because everybody else is doing it. I don't know. It's you have to watch for big names expiring and they forget to renew.
Yeah.
It's it's a different game, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure you can make a lot of money with it.
Yeah.
Or maybe spot trends. Yeah, you buy a name before the trend picks up, and people are like, let's see what happened.
All right. Well, let's say anything.
Quick note.
Sure.
Just to go back. Remember when we did the Tesla podcast?
Yes, I designed Tesla's website. Did you know?
Yeah. Did you see the 60-minute interview with Elon Musk did a week or two ago?
I didn't know.
No,
I heard about it.
He bought anyway. Just a quick comment. He bought when they started Tesla. He bought the name Tesla. They didn't have it, so they had to pay somebody for it. For their and at the time they have no money. They're starting out, and the guy didn't want to sell it to them. He's like, no, I'm keeping the name. I'm keeping the name. They actually had to look, we'll give you money, and they paid. Guess how much they paid the name Tesla for?
I have no idea.
$75,000.
Wow.
I mean, now it's worth a lot more, but at the time it was just, who knew that it would become what it is now? But at the time it was like $75,000 for, But yeah, and another quick Elon Musk comment. I think it was from the 60-minute interview he did. One before that, lately. Mm-hmm. Remember when everybody's talking about they're gonna run out of cash? They're running out of cash. Yes. Or they're gonna bankrupt. Well, did you see that comment he made where he said, "Yeah, we were a couple of weeks away from being bankrupt."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you see what his stock did? Nothing.
Right.
They're gonna just say, "Yeah, we're about to go bankrupt. We almost had no more cash," and the stock market didn't react to it. So that's the Tesla stock for you, man. It's on a different orbit,
and it's also not being transparent or honest, if you will.
No.
When he talked about, we'll be fine, we're fine.
Yeah. Well, look, it didn't take an expert to look at the financial and say, how are they going to pay for anything?
Yeah.
Right? Spend 5 minutes on it. Okay, they're going to have some kind of cash flow problem. They have some debt coming up. How are they going to pay for all the things he say they want to do? You ask legit questions. Where's their money? How are you going to pay for it? You never got answers.
Yeah, well, I hope they're massively successful, and that's all. That's really my only skin in the game, is if they can make the world better, then it makes it better for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I hope for.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Anyway, I think we should wrap it up.
For sure.
Thanks for coming on, Brian. And
Eric, it was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Let's do this again.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
Happy holidays to you and your family.
You too. Take care.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Intelligent Investing Podcast with Eric Schleien. If you'd like to connect with Eric for questions, comments, feedback, ideas, or to inquire about being on the show, please contact Eric at intelligentinvesting@gmail.com. So, in the words of Charlie Munger, I have nothing to add.